Hello there. SMG4 theory is back for like 2 videos, but we'll take it anyway. And I'm just going to get straight into it because I am hyped. Now, first of all, I just want to get this out of the way, but I'm glad we're actually getting the whole cast in this arc. One of my biggest issues with most arcs is that the whole cast ain't there. So I'm glad they all turned up at the end, and this WODV is actually giving me WODV 2021 vibes. In terms of character usage, that is, and not someone dying, although that's still in the air. Because think about it, WODV 2021 was the last WODV where the whole cast did something, because WODV 2022 was in a courtroom. Also, there were way too many characters, though I get why there was. WODV 2023, there wasn't enough characters because it was literally just SMG4, SMG3, Mario. If you want to count Marcy, then go ahead. Then WODV 2024, it was literally just Mario, SMG4, and Meggy, while everyone else was mind controlled. And I get it's WODV, so it's supposed to just be Mario and SMG4. But let's be honest, since WODV 2022, it's not been a War of the Fat Italians since SMG4 got redesigned. So the purpose of War of the Fat Italians has been long defeated, and now it's just referred to as WODV. But anyway, I am glad we're actually getting the whole cast. Now, I do have some ideas on what might happen next, but to be honest, they kind of just threw us straight into it without any real build-up. So I'm just going to throw my hat into the ring and just give my thoughts. Now, I know some people like Machroma and Null have already made their theories and it's about time travel. And yes, that is a possibility, but I'm going to try and not talk about time travel much because those two have already done that. But I will bring it up. So obviously at the end of Soul Search, Puzzles has the YouTube remote out of all things he could have got, which literally no one saw coming because that's a plot point from 5 years ago when SMG3 had it in the YouTube arc. But this time Puzzles has it and put it on his head and took his TV head off, which yes, he can do that if you didn't know, because I saw someone comment saying, can he do that? The answer to that is yes. Now, yes, time travel is possible, but I want to throw this out there because I've seen pretty much no one else talk about it. But if you remember for WODV 2020, the YouTube remote is actually semi-sentient, though it is through a certain button on the remote, which is why I said semi. So it could end up becoming conscious once more, and this time it ends up taking control of Puzzles' body, and that's the main villain of WODV 2025, because I don't think it will be Puzzles, weapons, or Tomb. And if it does take control of Puzzles, it will only be his body because his head isn't connected. Instead, he's holding it. But now let's briefly discuss the whole time travel theory, because I want to add something to it. So Puzzles will supposedly go back in time and fix everything he's done to everyone. I don't believe this. I believe he will fix everything with weapons and Tomb, or try to anyway. And this is further backed up because if you look at the note SMG4 saw, it said in the top left of it, I'm doing this for him, which him is 100% Mr. Weapons. I'm going to be honest, I only noticed this when I saw Machroma's theory video, so cheers Machroma. And in No Null's theory video, I know I'm talking about Machroma and No Null a lot, but their ideas I generally like, but I'm just slightly tweaking them because I don't think they're 100% right. But in No Null's video, he mentioned how maybe Miss Puzzles intended to leak his location to Weapons and Tomb, which is possible, but I think it's more likely they just found out where his base was. Also, going back to Puzzles only talking about Weapons and Tomb, the ending of the video made it pretty clear that this is the case, because the camera is on Weapons and Tomb, then Puzzles speaks, he says, I'm, then the camera is on Puzzles, and he continues to speak and says, going to make things right. Then the video ends. So I think the SMG4 crew showing up is just a minor inconvenience for Puzzles. One other thing, you can kind of tell Puzzles doesn't have villainous intentions just by the look on his face at the end, which makes me believe even more he won't be the main antagonist. Which is why I believe it could be the YouTube remote taking control of his body, because it did the same thing to Job in WODV 2020. But I'm going to leave it at that since we don't have enough information right now, so either we wait for the trailer to give us more of an idea, or we just go straight into WODV without any clue imaginable. Also, I'm going to put the links to Machroma and No Null's theory videos in the description, because a good part of this video wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for those two releasing their own theories. Also, one last thing I want to point out, but Soul Search was actually Startius' last SMG4 video, if I read correctly, which reading now is actually correct. So that's a bit disappointing that he's no longer working at SMG4, but I think we're going to be just fine, because don't forget, we did get another SMG4 writer this year, and that was Wizard Wiz, and he worked on the Karen arc, and Startius wasn't working for SMG4 during the Karen arc. And I love the Karen arc, so I think we'll be just fine. Also, I'm still hoping this is Puzzles' last arc. Whether he dies or not, I don't care, as long as the arcs aren't about him anymore after this, because that's all I care about. because I generally miss the fresh new arcs and villains. Like, I want to go back to that. One of the biggest reasons why I loved the Karen arc so much is because it felt like that. Because it wasn't Mr. Puzzles as the villain. Yeah, he showed up at the end, but he wasn't the main villain, nor did he cause it. And I am aware Weapons has showed up quite a bit now, but for Weapons it works because of the way he's been handled, and his writing has always been good. Puzzles now, his writing this year has been good, but not last year. His writing last year was shit, and that messed up everything for me, because if you mess up a villain even slightly, that's enough for me to say, nah, get him gone. Also, he's been getting forced into our faces constantly, which also pisses me off, because last year he was thrown into our faces 3 times outside of arcs, and this year it happened again. Only difference is this time, all 3 were in the gap between Guns and Puzzles and Soul Search, and 2 of those videos he was the main focus. Then you compare that to Weapons, who only had 1.5 appearances in the gap of Guns and Puzzles to Soul Search, and he was the main character in neither of those, because Weapons of Mass Destruction focused on Tomb. And he showed up for like 3 seconds in a Day of Unexpected Wednesday, and he didn't even speak. Then in the one video that Puzzles wasn't the main character in, he still spoke. Like, Puzzles is just forced into our faces pretty much every other week. Like, I just want change. Anyway, I'm leaving it here because I've rambled on long enough, so...